Hey guys, it's Ellen here, and today is Mini Monday Madness. We're painting some mushrooms. These are cute guys. They're so easy to do and paint. I actually give you a step-by-step drawing tutorial first on how to draw these out, and then we go into the painting aspect of this. If you have any questions, leave them in the comment section. Also, don't forget to check out my Patreon. The link is in the description box. I have exclusive tutorials and downloads there each week. And let's get started. Okay, I start by going over my supplies as always. I have two 3-inch squares of Arches 100% cotton cold pressed paper. My paints I'll be using will be Cadmium Yellow Deep, Van Dyke Brown, Quinacridone Magenta, Peacock Blue. Paper towels, I have my paints in my palette here, some water jars, and I'll be using a Princeton Long Round number 8 Velvet Touch brush. I'm just going to take this away. So if you don't know how to draw a mushroom, it's pretty easy. You can just print out some mushrooms on the internet and just trace if you have to do that. But I'm just going to do some basic ones. Now you've got the curve right there, right? Then you do another one underneath and then one over here like that. That can be like an inside type mushroom. We're not going to be drawing that kind though. We're going to be drawing one like this. Let's curve again. Under here and over here, and then we take the stem and just go like that, and that will be one of the bigger mushrooms. And they have these little teeny I think they call it enoch or something like that. I see them in the supermarket sometimes. They're just like that, but they're like there's a whole bunch of them connecting. So you're doing like the half circle, the little cap. It could be the inside of one again, like that, connecting. Another one like this, connecting to like a little bunch of mushrooms, right? And then we have a beautiful polka dot red one, so we get the half circle, curve it here, go like that, connect it, curve it, and then just the stem, and we'll have some grass. And we'll paint this with watercolor, and we can go back in with gouache and just add some dots. It's much easier than painting around the white. Or you could use masking fluid and do that, but why make your life more complicated? And then this one that's like a shiitake mushroom. It's like a little cappy kind of. It's kind of like a shiitake, but it's not really. I don't know what these ones are called, but they're just fun to paint. Looks like a little hat, you know. And then you have a curved, skinnier stem, just like that. So I drew mine out already, as you can see right here, and we'll start playing around with that. So here you're just mixing browns and grays for these kind of mushrooms over here. Obviously the cap on this one will be in that reddish brown family, and then again like grayish browns on this mushroom right here. So whatever paints that you have will work for you. If you have some reds, some browns. So I have the Van Dyke Brown, just makes things a little bit easier to create the brown instead of going through all the process of mixing all the paints. And then the grays, you can take the peacock blue and some of this magenta, get purple, and then you add some of that brown, more blue, and a little bit of yellow. It's still kind of in the brown family. And if you want to cheat, you can just go ahead and use black. It's a little cheat tool. I made that this little gray here. Gonna add a little more blue. So I got a nice gray. And I got a brown here. And all these browns and grays should be various tones. I might want to do a yellow brown. A little bit of magenta. Get a little orangey color here. So mixing up a bunch of colors. And then the brown, I can add a little blue, make it darker, a little bit of red, just tapping that magenta in there. So it's a deep dark brown. So you want various degrees of browns and grays. So I'm cleaning up my brush, and I'm just going to get this top part of the cap wet. Not super wet, just a little damp. Not too much water. So you can see the sheen of it if you look on the side. A little sheen of water. That's just damp. You don't want it really wet. Sometimes you really want it wet and sometimes you don't. And we're going to just flood in some of this brown. See, I'm just tapping in the color. That light brown that I had. And of course we'll start to add in some deeper tones, and you could even add some redder orangey tones if you want to also. Just on the top of the mushroom. See, I just tapped in that color, and I'm actually taking off some of the color right now with my paintbrush and putting it on the paper towel. I don't want too much. I can go in and grab some of this deeper brown. Oh, it's just too dry. I need to add a little water to it. And start putting it on the edge over in here. And just flooding in the color. And grab some of this red magenta. Add some of the Van Dyke brown to it. A little bit of the yellow. I just want to make a variety of tones in my mushroom. So I'll take this color and I'll just tap it on the edge. It's a little reddish. And then go back in with the Van Dyke brown. See, I want multiple colors. Feels more natural this way than having one flat color tone. Nature and the flowers. You look around, you even look at the grass and the green. There's more colors involved. So I'm going to let that dry a bit and work on the one on the bottom. We can work on the bottom stem part, which I want kind of in the gray tones. And I'm going to work wet on dry. So I didn't wet this first. I'm just going to grab that gray that I have. And I'm just going to put it in here, like so. Clean off my brush, grab some water, and then push it down a little bit. It's a little on the purple side, so I might just go in and flood in some browns, just like that. You want to get really loose with the color. Just see I have the brown on my brush still. I'm going to go back in and grab that gray. And I'm just pushing the paint around, just like this. And then on the bottom, I push it down when it's a little bit lighter. It's okay at this point if you want to go, like, you really don't want to hit that mushroom on the side too much over here, because you're going to paint. This part's going to be white underneath, so I don't want to push the paint across. I could if it was going to be all brown, because it's going to be darker. And again, I'm just going to go in and add a tap in. See, just with the tip of my brush, I'm just tapping in some darker gray tones. Grab some of this brown. Just tapping some darker tones down here. It's just a loose little mushroom. This guy's will be like brown with light brown beige on the bottom. So we'll grab the brown here, the Van Dyke brown. Gonna add a little blue to that. Whatever brown you have works, whatever brown you mix works. So you can do wet on dry here. You don't need to flood in. I'm just doing the caps. I feel like it's a little dark, so I'm just going to remove some of the paint. And they're like teeny tiny ones. And I'll paint on these caps again. So these ones would just be like a half moon cap. And this one I had where the white part underneath is showing through. Just these simple little dark caps. So it's still wet over here. I don't want to get too close to that other one. Just going to go ahead and flood in these colors. This part underneath should be a little dry, so we can go in. You're going back and forth, back and forth. Go in and add some of that gray underneath the mushroom cap. Wet on dry, which means we didn't wet the paper first. We just put the paint right down. And I'm pushing in this gray tone. It's fairly light right now, and then I'll keep adding in some color just to get it a little darker. And keep adding in. It's kind of blending right now. It's a little too wet, so I'm going to let it dry a bit. Let's get a little closer on these little cappies. So I want like a beigey, light brown on their stems. I have this yellow over here that I mixed earlier. And I'll just get it wet. Excuse me, my voice is going. And see, I just dab, I dab it on the paper towel, take off the excess, and zoom back in. And I'm just going to go in and lightly put in the color on the stems. I'm just going to flood in like one light beigey tone, and then I can go in and add various tones to the bottom, towards the top, etc. Since it's not super wet, I can do that. So I can take some brown and go in here, right on the bottom, just with the tip of the brush. That's why I like this brush. It's got this nice little tip. And you can tap a little bit on the edge, up top, like a little shadow underneath the cap. Not too much. Oh. Take a little of the gray if you want. Now this kind of flooded in a little bit. You can leave that, or you can lift up some of the paint with your brush. Now testing the waters over here. I can put in the cap now. So it's going to be a half cap. And I'm leaving that white part, see? And just going like that. So you're seeing the underneath part of this cap. Grabbing some darker color here, flooding that in, and up on here on this one. It's constantly adding the layers of the colors. See, I'm just tapping in some of the dark tones on the edge. And up in here. Voila. Aren't they cute? Go back to this mushroom and I'll put in some of this darker tones again. Like I said, if you want to cheat and grab some black, you can do that. Nothing wrong with that. I'm just going to take my tip of my brush and push down some paint like this, kind of like little lines, and then in the bottom just like that. Now on the top cap, it kind of blended in here too much. See that? And we don't want that. We want it to have a distinction between the top and the underneath part. So I'm going to lift that paint up, and obviously I need to let it dry. So I'm going to let it dry and come back to it. We can put in some little dark sprigs here. Wait till this one dries, and you can go back in on this one too, on the edges. Just put some little dark edges, little lines on the side of the mushrooms. And then you can put the grass sprigs, little twiggy things here. So we'll come back to that top half and finishing up these a little wet. Now I've got the red one and that like light brown one, beigey one. So I have that beigey color here. I can just add a little of this gray to it. And I'm just going to flood this in. Might leave a little white in here, like a little halo. And we just fill that one in. And we can play around with adding some green tones if you want. So I grab some of that blue and the yellow. A little bit of this brown. You don't want the green tones to be bright, just slight, like an olive green. And I'll just take the tip of the brush and I'll just tap in some of that green. And then I'll tap in some of that brown, red. You want it to have a variety of tones in it. Grab some of this reddish tone, even the yellowish tone. Okay, so we'll leave that for now, and then I'm going to go and work on the red mushroom cap. So basically, I'm going to make like an orangey red magenta with the yellow. And I got this orangey red color. Touch of brand egg brown, actually. Gotta get a little bit darker, so I'm gonna add some more of the same color tones again. There we go. Grab some of that brown and yellow. Mixing. You can mix for days. All right, I got a lot of that color now. And I'll get it wet down here. And it still looks a little bright, so I'm gonna go back in and add some more of that yellow tone. Excuse my stomach, if you hear that. Okay, so it's like an orangey red. I'm just gonna wet on dry. I'm gonna flood in some of this color here. I'm going to fill the whole thing in. I'm going to go back in with the white gouache to make the dots later. So right now it's kind of like a light pinkish red. We want to get a little deeper in some areas and leave the color in the rest. So now I'm going to make a deeper red. I'm going to grab that peacock blue and get the magenta again. And keep mixing up till you get the color that's like a nice darker red. And a little yellow. I could play for days trying to get that right color. So it's kind of like a burgundy tone. And we'll get it pretty loose. Again, it still looks a little too pink. Gotta get that yellow in there. Okay. It's not cooperating. There we go. All right, and I'll take that and I'll just take it with the tip of my brush and I'll just start hitting the edges on this side. And then tapping around the middle a little bit. See, it just makes these little taps. Don't worry if it looks like little dots. If it's wet still, damp, it's just gonna blend out nicely. And then a little bit on the side over here. So we still have some of that light tone that we had before, but now we've got some nice deeper tones blended in. We're going to let that dry. Go back to the stem on this one. And grab some of that brownish tone that we had. Add a little yellow to it. I'm just going to go back in here and flood in the color. It's on the red side, so I'm going to grab some of my yellow. Go right in there. Go right on top. And that'll just change the color. It's fun if you ever try painting just colors on top of other colors on the actual paper. That's a lot of fun. It's a good exercise to try and see what color tones you get. So I'm going to flood in some brown, some gray. I just want a bunch of multicolors in this one. A little more brown on top, the shadow. Some green down here. I'm just enjoying the multicolors of it. See, it's very different tones. It looks more natural that way. And I'll go back in here and add some more browns. Just all over the place. This is still wet. We're going to go back to, we're switching back and forth. This guy, remember the first guy? And I'm going to go in and add some of that deeper grays than I wanted. And I do a little cheat too and I add some black, because I can. So I'm getting that more definitive line on the mushroom here. I'm going to go back in and put in the grays. Just filling in a little bit darker gray in here. And then on the bottom of the stem here. And I'll get this a little bit darker as well. This brown up top. And I'll kind of mush the paint around up top here. All the way down here. And I think he's fairly cute. I kind of like him the way he is. Again, if you want to go in and make more distinct lines, just remove that. I'm going to add some black in here. Just want it really dark. You don't have to make yours that dark. And if it bleeds a little bit, just take the brush and swipe it up like that. Again, like the mushrooms have all these various tones to them. It's kind of fun. Going back to our red cap, we're going to do a light beige. Fairly white. We want to keep that cap kind of white on the white tones. So I'm just going to put a little of this very pale beige color underneath. Just the shadow and going down here on the side. Not too much. I want to keep it mostly white. And I'll just take my brush, the tip, and I'll just put the little line where it is on that side. If it's white, you're not going to really see it. Get a little beige in here. And then the bottom, I'm going to put little sprays, again with the dark brown, black color. Just at the tip of the brush and just putting those little grass sprays. It's not really grass, it's kind of part of the mushroom too. Same thing over here. This guy. Just going to put it a little bit darker here. And under this guy. He's still a little wet. I have to call him he and she, but. And then again, I'm going to go and add just a little more color on top. But he's pretty much done. Now we're going to let, I think the cap is still wet. So I just have this inexpensive white gouache. This is just from Dalla Rowney Permanent White. You don't have to use expensive white gouache. I'll just put it down over here on my palette, my little white gouache section. With gouache, you just want to get a little water on it, not too much, because then it becomes translucent. You can use gouache for almost like watercolor if you want to. So you want to clean up your brush really good. And take the gouache. It's a little messy, but just add a little bit of water. Not too much. So you can maneuver the paint to keep it more opaque. Again, I'll just tap it on my paper towel to get off the excess water on my paintbrush. Make sure it's really white. This is still a little damp. Let's see if it won't bleed. And we're going to make these sporadic. You don't want perfect polka dots because that would look not realistic. So they're not really polka dots, but these just white markings. See? With your brush. Small and big, tiny. These are those mushrooms, I think they grow in Norway or something like that. And we're just putting the little dots all around it. To make it look more natural. You don't want it like perfect. And then you have that cute white mushroom. Polka dot mushroom. And voila. Now if you really want to go, you can just add some other tones to these mushrooms. You can add a little, like I think if I didn't, I could take the gouache and go in and add some little white halos. If I wasn't happy with this one. Same thing in here, you know. A little white up in here. Play around with the gouache. And if I wanted to add some halo in here, you know, get a little more distinctive with their mushrooms. But pretty much that's it for Mini Monday Madness. Mini not mini mushrooms, but they're little mushrooms. If you want to add a little more color, you can go in and like I had that green before. I can feel like it's a lot of browns, right? Make a nice green. Just to punch it up a little bit. You can add a little bit green in here. Over in here too. It's a lot of grays and browns. So you can change it up a bit and add some greenery. Or put it on grass. Whatever you like. It's just fun. And you can do a bunch of different mushrooms. Just go on the internet and look at all the mushrooms. Just have fun painting it. You could do one mushroom per this 3-inch square. And then make a whole bunch and frame them and put them all around your kitchen. It'd be kind of cute, right? Some of my viewers have been posting like what they've been doing at their minis, and it's fantastic. I don't know, I can't remember her name, but she sent me a picture of how she put them all on a string with basically a clothespin going across for her office. That's a great idea. I mean, to brighten up your office of all the accomplishments of you've been painting the Mini Mondays. So I'm just keep adding in some darker tones here. Just to get a little darker. Playing around with that. And this mushroom too. I feel like this big one's my nemesis today. There's always something in your painting that it's like, you know, you're not quite doing what you're supposed to. But I still think it looks cute. So there you go. Don't forget to check out my Patreon. I have exclusive tutorials over there this week, every week, every Thursday. And once a month, on the higher tier, that I give you a free printable download for your personal use. And September 1st is coming up, so there'll be a free download. It's usually around the theme of the month. I generally have done some flowers and some other things, but I'm going to give you a surprise. It's obviously going to be autumn if it's September, but we'll see, right? And my other channel, the Amazing Art Channel, is acrylic demos. It's in the description box and the About page. Thank you guys so much. I appreciate you so much. I hope you enjoy painting these little mini Mondays. And take care, and I'll speak to you soon.